Okay, we'll go ahead and get started with our post-race media availabilities. We got our race-winning crew chief, Jeremy Bullins, from the number 12 Dent Wizard Ford for Team Penske. We'll go ahead and open up to questions. We'll start here up front with Jordan, and then over to Dustin.
Jordan Bianchi, The Athletic. I have two questions. First, when Ryan spun yesterday, you take me through that. You're thinking we're out of it. We still have a good enough car to come back. Just walk me through that.
Yeah, we knew we had a fast car. We worked our way to the lead right there. So, it was unfortunate what happened of spinning the pit road. But, like I told him last night, I'm glad we got that out of the way early and we didn't damage the car in any way. And we kind of know what the limits are at that point. So there's no reason, we pretty much recovered from it, got back to 10th by the end of the stage. So we knew we had a good car and just put it behind us and move on.
Take me through the last lap. Ryan Newman's got the lead. Your guy comes back. Are you thinking we're going to win this? We're going to lose this? What do you take me through that?
Well, we knew that once you get to the bottom in the lead, a run's coming from somewhere. And the 11 had a great recovery day and was pushing the 6 pretty hard, and we saw them coming. But just hoping that we can play enough defense and get those guys separated. And Ryan did a great job of kind of getting those guys separated and getting the run back to get by the 6 to the line. And that was really the difference, was the moves that he made with those guys coming on the outside.
Okay, over here, Dustin.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. With your win, you put some other people in a tough spot. Basically, there's an 18-point gap for the last cutoff spot and those outside. 18 points can be made up in a lot probably easier here than at Kansas. What's the challenge if you were trying to make up 18 points going into Kansas? How much this helps you avoid that situation?
I feel like going into Kansas, you would have needed to probably win both stages. I mean, you've got to have a pretty good stage point advantage over the guys that that you're trying to race to make up that kind of points. And I told the team after the first round that we needed to win a race in this stage. The way the playoff points thing carries over, when you get to the round of 12, there's a pretty big gap from 12th to 10th to the lead. So I felt like we needed to win a race, and that was our goal. And obviously this week and next week have been good tracks for us. We haven't won at either one of them, but we've run very well at both of them. So we felt like going into it, we had a shot at winning one of these, and that was kind of like our goal. We felt like we needed to do that, and I'm really excited about the round of 8 because it's some great racetracks for us. So for us, we're a little bit playing on house money, and we'll go try to win a championship.
And also, you talk about stage points. I think 6 stage points today. Obviously, the win makes that, in one sense, irrelevant. But how much did you feel like was maybe left on the table at those 2 stages? How things kind of worked out? Or how much concern did you have after?
I felt like we left 9 stage points on the table yesterday. With spinning in the first stage and getting back to 10th. We had control of the race at that point when we spun. So. That you feel like you left some points on the table at that point. And if we'd have got those, if we could have managed and controlled the second stage and won that stage, I think we would have been like 2nd or 3rd on stage points for the race, and that would have been good. But, like I said, at the end of the day, you're trying to win, and that this format requires wins. And we get tired of hearing that the 12 cars led the most laps without winning and all that kind of stuff. So, we're trying to win races as hard as anybody, and the effort's there, and sometimes you just need things to play out for you, and today it did.
Okay, let's go back here to Zach.
Zach Albert, NASCAR.com. Jeremy, looking at the score sheet, 4 Fords in the top 5. I know there was a lot made about manufacturers working together and things like that. I guess it would be nice to say that was by design, but at the end of this thing, how much of it was just every driver for himself, really?
Well, I think that the cool thing about the last lap is the Ford was going to win, right? So we were racing the 6, so obviously we needed the win from a playoff standpoint. But I don't take anything away from those guys wanting to win a race. They need to win a race as much as anybody does. So, I appreciate the fact that everybody raced hard and did what they had to do. And, we had a bunch of Fords up there, and one was going to win the race. And the manufacturer thing is very important. Those guys probably don't get enough credit for the support they give to the race teams and across the board, whether it be Ford or any of the others. But, appreciate everything that they do. And it's our job to try to do the best we can for them and to get a Ford in victory lane, and just really happy it was a 12 car.
Okay, any more questions? All right, Jeremy, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
It's real quiet in here.
All right, we'll go ahead and continue with our post-race media availabilities. We now have the race-winning driver, Ryan Blaney, driver of the number 12 Dent Wizard Ford for Team Penske. We'll go ahead and open it up to questions. We'll start here with Jordan in the front.
Jordan Bianchi, The Athletic. When Newman passed you out of 4, he built up just a little bit of an advantage. Did you think you were going to be able to get back to him, or did you think that was it? Can you kind of walk me through that there?
Yeah. So the last lap, I saw the 11 and 6 coming on the top down the back. They were tandem together, and I saw them coming, and I wanted to pull up, but they were coming so much faster than us that if I would have pulled up and tried to block them, they just would have split me. You can't block runs like you used to with this package. There's none of that really none of that air bubble anymore that we used to talk about. You just run through the guy's bumper. So, and the runs are a lot larger, especially when you tandem like they did. So I figured my best bet was to try to pull the 11 off of them. And that's kind of what I did. Luckily I was able to get to the 11's quarter panel in 3, pull him off the 6, and then I knew Eric Almirola was going to come push me through to the bottom, and then we both would be clear, and then it's just all about making a move. And hopefully you make the right move at the right time on the front stretch there, and that one just happened to work out. But I knew if I could separate them and stay on the bottom and come out second, we had a shot at Newman. So.
Okay, let's go back here to Jacob and then over here to the man in the blue hat.
Jacob Seelman, Speed Sport. Ryan, 2 questions. First, after last week having the suspension issue and being pretty buried coming in here, how much of a relief now is it knowing that you're on, there's no stress at Kansas, you're through to the next round?
Well, it's huge. After last week, having that trouble with the, some parts breaking, our mindset was really we had to win one of these 2 races. We were so far back in points. I know Talladega's a wild card. There's a lot of wrecks today, and a lot of guys got tore up, but we didn't really get any stage points, and we were already pretty far behind the 8 ball. So we knew we had to probably win one of these 2 weeks, and it's just a huge relief. After having such a bad weekend last week, it's nice to get a win and lock you into the next round for sure. But you still go out and try to win Kansas. It's not. You're not relaxing in Kansas. You still try to go out and win that race. But really big weekend for our team after the troubles we had last week.
Now, the outlook for the round of 8, it's tracks that you've historically been pretty decent at, but knowing that there's 3 guys that have a pretty big points buffer compared to where you guys have been at this year, do you feel like you're going to have to win one of those races to make sure you're at Homestead?
Yeah, I definitely think so. You kind of see in the last couple of years that there's a few guys that have a pretty big points lead from having phenomenal regular seasons and with bonus points and things like that. And yeah, you got to win the race to win the championship at Homestead. So you better get used to try to win in big races. And wins have kind of eluded us this year after I felt like we should have had 2 or 3 already, and it was nice to just put one together. But I definitely think it'll take a win in the round of 8 to get you to the championship 4 if you are not, one of those top guys that have had, tons of wins throughout the regular season and a lot of bonus points.
Okay, go ahead.
Christian Coley, frontstretch.com. Kind of bouncing off of Jacob's question. The next round, you've got 3 good tracks that you've been pretty good at. Which of the 3 do you feel like you could go out and win, if not all 3? But where do you feel like you could punch your ticket to Homestead?
Yeah. Honestly, all 3 have been really good to us the last couple of years. We ran great at Martinsville. We've run great at Martinsville the last couple of years and had a great run in the spring, running 4th in Texas. We were leading when we blew up about halfway through that race, and then Phoenix we led a lot and ended up 3rd. So I feel like they're all really strong for us. It's just a matter of executing. I felt like either one of those 3 races earlier this year we could have won. Just had a problem at Texas, or just weren't quite fast enough there at the end of those races. So I think those are 3 really good tracks for us. It's just a matter of executing and doing all that we can in our power to run the race the best that we can and adapt throughout the race and do the best. But the round of this next round, pretty good tracks for us. So hopefully we can rise to the occasion.
Let's go over here in the middle and then to Lee.
Tyler had 960, the ref. You led the most laps today with 35. What do you feel like you did better than everybody else that kept you out front so much?
nothing. I mean, it's just this race, and now, you get, last year and a couple years prior to that, it was a lot easier for the leader to block lanes and control the race, and I thought Brad and Joey were great examples of being able to control the whole race with being able to air block and things like that. And nowadays, like I talked about earlier, you just can't do that. I mean, you cannot. There's no air bubble to kind of push the leader up front, so you can't play different lanes. You're just trying to push as hard as you can. There's a couple instances we came off pit road first and were able to just run the bottom and run it pretty decent. I know we led a little bit. I didn't really think about that, but it wasn't no one dominating this race. I think you can look back at this whole race, and there wasn't anyone with a dominantly fast car. It just kind of was all about the help behind you, the runs that you could get, where you took your runs. This speedway racing is so tough nowadays with the way the cars are now. You don't see any domination anymore, which is probably good for the fans, right? I mean, you don't have anybody leading 100 laps of the race. It's all mixing up. I don't know how many green flag passes there were. There's probably a lot. And, a little bit more wrecks than I'd like to see, but you're just going to have those when people are pushing really hard like they did today. But, it's just circumstantial. I mean, we just found ourselves in the lead a little bit throughout the race, and we're shuffled back to the front. It's just kind of the way things are now.
Lee Spencer, the Racing Boys, can you just talk about your range of emotions from Dover and going to the cellar of the points, and then, coming in here, knowing you have to run well, you spin going on a pit road, even though you have the fastest car, and then come back tonight after, one crash after another to win this thing?
Yeah, definitely a big range of emotions, right? I mean, this is what sports are about. See ya. Bye. That was the weirdest thing I've ever been a part of. Asked questions and left. Didn't want to write it down. Nice question. No, I mean, I don't know what to think. No, it just, from our trouble yesterday, spinning, coming onto pit road, leading the race, obviously that's something you want to forget, right? I mean, you learn what to do better next time, but you want to forget about that. And then having a night in between is honestly worse. You kind of dwelling on it and saying, man, why the heck did I do that? That was so dumb. And then, missing a bunch of wrecks today. I feel like all the other speedway races this year, we've gotten collected in someone else's mess, and none of our doing it. A lot of guys had that happen to them today. It's just the way that speedway racing goes. But today we were able to be in a spot to see the wreck happen and miss it. Which has not been the case this year for us. We've always been just wadded up in it and nowhere to go. Just a wild race, and that comes from people pushing really hard. That literally that's what people got turned from, of people pushing very extremely hard. And these cars, the bumpers don't connect well, and the rear springs are so stiff that it's easy to turn cars to the right. And you saw a lot of that happen today. I think that was pretty much every wreck of cars getting kind of sideswiped on their rear bumpers. But luckily we were able to make it through those and then capitalize on the opportunities we were given at the end of the race.
Okay, let's go to Dustin and then Jerry.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. You said earlier you knew you had to win. You felt like you had to win one of these next two races. I understand you guys go into every race, or you go into every race looking to win. But when you get to this point and feeling like you have to win and understand your situation, what is that like? How is that any different, or how do you try to keep it the same from week to week? Because it's the playoffs, it's not the same.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same, but it's different. I always say our mindset every week, any team's mindset is to win the race every week, right? But when you realize what's on the line, and if you're in, I wouldn't call our situation this weekend a must-win situation, but it was most likely we had to win the race here at Kansas to advance with how good guys were on points. But it's definitely a tough thing. We like to say that there's no pressure on it, but there is a lot. I mean, there's a lot of pressure internally that can sometimes come out. Maybe you don't show it very often. I don't show it very often, but it does come out every now and then because this is what you love to do, and there's a lot of things on the line. But yeah, just definitely a really important day for us to do well. We didn't get a lot of stage points, so I was kind of worried about that throughout the day. And like the 24, the 88 did. And then they had their problems, but just a you go into these weekends kind of focused on, there's good and bad to having to win. You got nothing really to lose, right? You're pretty far back, and you're going to be really aggressive on things. But then you know that you have nothing to lose, and you're going to maybe put yourself in some sketchy situations. So there's kind of good and bad to that. But I've always kind of been a taking chances kind of person. So I think that even though I don't want us to see us in this situation, it kind of almost brings an extra fire to people.
And also, you've advanced this far a couple years ago, and we're almost like essentially, I guess, almost in a kind of a must-win situation at Phoenix. You responded by winning the pole, and then things didn't work out. What, other than being 2 years and just everything you've gained in 2 years, what can that experience of being in that round, being so close to Miami, potentially help you as you get ready for this upcoming round of 8?
Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, there's a few guys that are really good on points right now, and you're probably going to have to win in the round of 8 to advance if you're not one of those guys. And that's, I mean, I said you got to win Miami, so I mean most likely you got to win the race. So better get used to that. Better get used to that mindset. But yeah, we had this shot a couple years ago with the Wood brothers in 17, and got to Phoenix, won the pole, and then just didn't run well enough. We were kind of too far out. But it's you just want to put yourself in a spot to have a chance, and that's really all you can ask for. And now our chance is here. It's in the round of 8. We have our chance to go to Miami. But we got knocked out now. You have no chance. So all you're looking for is an opportunity to kind of capitalize on the situation and on a race like we did today. So I feel really confident we can go out and win any of those 3 races in the round of 8. Those are really good tracks for us. So that's kind of what our focus is. So, yeah.
Okay, on to Jerry.
Jerry Jordan, kickingthetires.net. Last week, Harvick talked about safety as the biggest change he's seen in 20 years, and we saw a lot of cars, kind of some crazy wrecks today, airborne, but landed on its wheels. When you're driving through that, what is going through your mind? We were over 200 miles an hour several times on multiple laps today. Does any of that going through your head? What were you thinking when cars are doing a full flip at the front of the field?
I mean, when you're racing and you're green flag, you're not thinking of that. You're thinking of, honestly, I don't think about it at all, the safety side of it at all. And granted, I haven't been around that long, so I don't, it's easy for someone like Kevin to relate, right? And I think even watching my dad grow up in it, it's amazing what it's done from the early 2000s when I could kind of understand the safety stuff. But I don't think about that when we're racing. I don't think anyone does. But, yeah, Brendan Gaughan flipped right in front of me today, and I was kind of surprised. I don't know how he got clipped. These cars can get clipped in certain ways that catch air underneath them and flip them up. Larson had it down to him in the spring race here. You hope they're okay. I asked right away, is Brendan all right? And I know he landed on 04, which was good, but you're worried about it bottoming out onto the frame rails and him hurting his back. But I think he was okay from what I was told. But it's just nothing I really think about. I mean, I'm not running out there 200 miles an hour thinking of, okay, am I going to get hurt? I just never thought about that, and maybe some guys do. Granted, some of them have more family than I got. I don't have children or a wife or anything like that, so maybe it changes your mind a little bit. But it's just, I know the safety side is amazing now. Even since I started, let's say, even saying late models, it's just amazing the safety stuff that improvements they've made. But it's just nothing that really crosses my mind. I'm confident in all of it.
Any more questions? All right, Ryan.
Thank you. Guys. Appreciate it.